So after our 1 week hiatus,
what the heck was that?
What do you mean? What was that?
What was it? Thank you for watching.
Why would we not want to thank our listeners or viewers for watching? Our one.
Do we have any listeners?
Right now, it's well. Today it's 0. I'm Seth.
It's always look. Nobody watches live.
So I'm Sean Palmer. That's Seth Kamens over there. Nope, there.
Yep.
So that's Seth Kamens over there. Seth and Sean Sports here on StreamYard back after our 1 week hiatus, and what a 1 week, 2 weeks it really has been. I know, dude. I got a job that keeps me busy now. Like, it's not work from home. It's not like, hey, I can take the hour off. I get it. How's the basement?
I will give you a video tour later on tonight.
Oh, I'm wow.
If you can stay awake till 6 o'clock, until 6:30, excuse me.
A video tour. I am anxiously.
Video means I'll put it on FaceTime, and I'll show you.
I am looking forward to this.
It's getting there. It's about 2 weeks away.
This 360 view of the Kamens, or AKA Sean's new room. I'm.
You'll have a gym. You'll have a shower. You don't really need anything else, and you'll have a room. You can have a place where you can put a computer.
Both of which I need: a gym and a shower, and I got a pool across the street, so I'm totally good. So
I can't afford one, so. Dang.
All right, so let's start with the news of the day, in that the Jets had Tyreek Hill and then did not have Tyreek Hill. So
did they ever actually have Tyreek Hill?
I don't know. They offered a lot more than the Dolphins. I guess Hill just wasn't going to re-sign there, so re-sign in New York. And I got to tell you, when I heard the news that Tyreek Hill was choosing between the Dolphins and the Jets, I didn't want him. And it's not a matter of I don't want Tyreek Hill the player. I absolutely want Tyreek Hill the player.
You don't want Tyreek Hill the person.
I don't want the person. And I think more and more, maybe because I'm not as focused on sports as I once was. And that's true.
You realize you're hosting a sports radio show, right? Or a sports
I do. But the point is, I'm not watching every single day. I'm not. Look, I watched one game of the NCAA tournament this past weekend. I know. But the point is, I think more, maybe last week hit me a lot more with Deshaun Watson, where I was like, you know what, it's nice to have the players on your team. It's nice to win, but what are you sacrificing? And Lindsey Jones wrote a great article for The Athletic when Deshaun Watson got traded to Cleveland, and said, okay, well, we got Deshaun Watson, the player, but what did we sacrifice as a team or as a city to go get Deshaun Watson, the player? And I think that the same could be said for Tyreek Hill, in that, what are you sacrificing to go get Tyreek Hill, who is, by all accounts, a very good player. We know this, right? I mean, he's an all-pro. Quite frankly, he's a one-of-a-kind in the NFL right now. But are you rewarding that one-of-a-kind based on past incidents and past history with a contract that is the highest-paid wide receiver in football? And you have to worry about it, right? I mean, Tyreek Hill has not been perfect since he's entered the NFL.
No.
And somebody in my office said to me, if you had said Devontae Adams for the same thing, I'm in, right? I'm totally in. And it made me think about it, going back to Deshaun Watson, right? What did Cleveland sacrifice? And I'll tell you, Cleveland did everything to prove me right, in that winning takes precedence over everything. It just rubbed me everything about it rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah. I mean, you are literally rewarding a guy for, now he was not criminally indicted for the 20, we talked about Deshaun first, for 22, I don't even know what they are.
22 acts of potential misconduct. Let's roll with it that way. Okay.
And if you had said one or two, I'm not saying that's okay, but I can see the he said, she said on one or two. I find it a little bit harder on 22 of them. And let's see what's really happened. Houston paid him for a year to do nothing. He made $10 million. Now he is making $230 million guaranteed. And the practicality is if Cleveland wins the Super Bowl, everything will be forgiven in that town. You can have all the protests you want right now. Winning trumps all this stuff. And especially when you've never won.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it should. I'm just saying it will.
Look, when I saw 240 million, I was like, all right, 240 million. And then I saw 240 million guaranteed. And I was like, okay, so that's $100 million more than any other player in the NFL history has ever gotten guaranteed money. 100 million more. Then I thought about it and said, okay, fine. You know what? He's going to get suspended. So the minute he gets suspended, all that money becomes non-guaranteed. Except
they gave him a minimum salary in the first year.
No. They carved out the fact that if he does, so what happens in NFL contracts and why Randy Gregory actually left the Cowboys is in most NFL contracts, it says if you have guaranteed money and get suspended at any time, all the guarantees go away. Then it becomes a year-to-year thing. And I said, okay, maybe this is just show, right? It's $240 million, but it really is a year-to-year thing because the minute that he gets suspended, and he will be suspended. And for those that are saying, well, he wasn't convicted, he was blah, blah. Yeah, neither was Ben Roethlisberger.
Neither was Ezekiel Elliott.
Right. So the NFL, this is what the players wanted changed, but Roger Goodell basically has godlike powers when it comes to suspensions. Okay. I mean, look, that's fine. That's what was agreed to. So I thought, okay, all the guaranteed, this is just for show, right? It's 1 year. He gets suspended. The rest of the guarantees go away. Nope, not at all. First of all, they carved out anything that has happened already that he may get suspended for. So Deshaun Watson may have improperly touched. I'm trying to find ways to say this without really saying it. Improperly touched 22 women. And as long as he doesn't improperly touch a 23rd, he'll be fine, right? I mean, it's so ridiculous. And then no, they carved that out. And then to your point, Seth, if he gets suspended 6 games in the first year, his salary in the first year is $1 million. So he's going to lose about $34,000, $340,000, give or take, right? Something around there. And he's still going to make $46 million this year because of his signing bonus. How do you, as Jimmy Haslam and Dee Haslam, look at your fans and say, this is what I want? Like, I just don't get it.
Yes, you do.
No,
I completely get it.
I don't because I was faced with that. But I was faced with that today, Seth. Now, okay, let me say, how do the fans get it, right? How do you show up and root for the guy?
I have a friend of mine, guy I went to high school with.
He's a good guy. Well, that's the first time you've ever actually shot away from he's a good guy.
He thinks he's a good guy.
All right, fair enough.
And we haven't talked very much over the years, but he was always a diehard Browns fan, and I read this on Facebook. And at the end of the day, most of the fans aren't going to care.
That's sad. That's sad.
Look, I didn't want him going to the Giants. I had a problem with it. Would I stop being a Giants fan if he went there? I'd like to say I would, but I probably wouldn't have been.
Would you buy a Deshaun Watson jersey?
Well, I've never bought a jersey in my life. I'm not going to buy one. No.
Would you buy one for your kid?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not. His life revolves around the Cleveland Browns. And if this got them to the Super Bowl, he doesn't care. the diehards don't care. It's one thing if it was the Patriots, not that Belichick would ever sign somebody like that, but Belichick signed people with issues. He signed Randy Moss. He signed Corey Dillon. So but they've won Super Bowls.
He signed Antonio Brown.
Yeah, I mean, Cleveland has never been to a Super Bowl in 55 years.
Is that license to do whatever you want to win? I think that's what you're saying, right?
No, but what they're saying is they have a desperate fan base. They want to win. They don't care. Protests will go for a week, 2 weeks, first game of the season, and then it's done. How often do you see these things continue? They never do. Mike Vick goes to jail for dogfighting.
Yep. And
Mike Vick amended himself, did everything after the fact to reconcile or I'm not using the right word, but to try and legitimately try and fix himself.
Recompense. He put forth recompense. Yep.
Exactly. So, but it took time to do that.
Sure.
He didn't do it all in the first year. He has continuously done this over 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever it is. And there were protests the first game he came back.
Sure there were.
And there were protests when he signed.
Yep.
Were there protests 6 weeks in, 10 weeks in, a year in, when he was third in the MVP voting? No. Everything is temporary. And people forget. Not forget, but people forgive. And people don't care.
Do you think people... Okay, so... You said people don't forget, but people forgive. So let's look at some of those guys, right? So Ben Roethlisberger, right? You think anybody forgot what he did? Do you think, really?
Oh, yeah. I barely remember what he did.
You don't think when the Hall of Fame, and granted, the NFL Hall of Fame is different than all others. We understand that because guys like Lawrence Taylor get in, right? Mm-hmm. You don't think when that comes up, people are going to remember that part?
No. Short of O.J. Simpson-esque.
Well, then unfortunately, we live in a much sadder world than I ever thought we did.
Yeah. There are very few. God, I can't even think today. There are very few things that the world will not forgive.
I agree with that. We are a forgiving society. I agree. I completely. All you have to do is say you're sorry, right?
You don't have to mean it, but you got to say it. And he's not going to say it because if he says it, this is going to be some version of admitting guilt.
Yeah, because it's civil. And
there's a civil suit coming, so it's never going to be discussed. But this is who we are. People put athletes on pedestals. People desperately want their teams to win who have never won before. And especially and we've seen this, not really with us, although we are diehard fans of our teams. The Giants in Maryland for me, the Jets, the Islanders in Syracuse for you. As big a fans as we are, there are points we won't push past. But it doesn't mean there are things we will not accept. And that, I can't say that for other fans. Like, this is the single most important thing in their life.
Yeah.
And when it is, then they don't care. Look, if LSU if Sean Miller won an NCAA title, or if Will Wade won an NCAA title, you think they would look at these guys with disdain?
Do you hold on? But you're comparing. In my mind, you're comparing apples and oranges. Will Wade and Sean Miller. Okay, those are recruiting violations.
I'm just throwing people.
Okay.
Fine. A bad example. I apologize.
Okay. No, that's fine. I'm just saying those are apples and oranges, right?
If Myers Leonard scored the game-winning basket to win the NBA title for he got I think he got traded to the Jazz. I forget what happened when he got traded.
I will tell you though, Myers Leonard has done the Michael Vick thing.
What'd you say?
Myers Leonard has worked his Michael Vick. He's worked towards
but nobody's ever heard from Myers Leonard again. He doesn't play in the NBA.
Correct.
At this point.
Okay. I don't want to throw Myers Leonard under the bus saying that he hasn't done the work because he has.
Okay, I have no idea what he's done or hasn't done. I've never heard a thing about it since. But you get the point. If he went to Utah and scored the game-winning basket in Game 7 of the NBA Finals.
Yep.
You think the people of Utah are going to say, screw that SOB, he made an anti-Semitic comment? They don't care. He won them the title. That's the reality we live in.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
sorry to depress you, dude.
No, and look, I think you're going to get that in New Jersey, right? If Kyrie Irving wins a title, right? I mean,
yeah, but it's
Brooklyn, not New Jersey.
It's different though. Kyrie, look, I vehemently disagree with his stance,
but he hasn't hurt anybody else, and he hasn't hurt anybody.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything illegal.
He's just he's hurting himself.
I morally disagree with the stand he's taking.
Yeah, but that's okay. I don't believe that the earth is flat either, but that is totally right.
And I believe dinosaurs did roam the earth. But there's a difference between not taking a vaccine because of a belief that you have, and I don't agree with it whatsoever, because I think it's, whatever. I'm not going to go into that discussion, versus having civil suit from 23 women for improper whatever. The funny thing is, Deshaun Watson was literally the cleanest. I remember reading this. Had one of the cleanest characters of anyone ever to go through the NFL draft. If you can believe that, amazing.
Well, sometimes everybody's got a skeleton, right? So
not me. I'm perfect.
I've known you for a long time, my friend. You are not perfect. You are not perfect, but in Carly's eyes, you are. So there you go.
Yeah, that's the scary part.
That is pretty much the scary part. But so all right. So since 2 weeks ago, Tom Brady has returned.
Wow.
Right?
You really took a crappy week to take off.
A lot's got Devontae Adams got traded.
He did.
Should we keep going? Russell Wilson. I think we're on when Russell Wilson got traded.
Probably that. I think the day after.
I think that was the day after. Lots of free agents signed. Matt Ryan gets traded to Indianapolis.
Good for Matt Ryan.
Carson Wentz goes to the commies. And the AFC gets better and better at the expense of the NFC. And for all those people that say that Aaron Rodgers should have left, I look back and I say, why? I just don't. You have that NFC North, which seems to be the Packers or nobody, and then you look at the West, and the West is going to be tough.
The NFC West, yeah.
The NFC West is going to be tough.
The AFC West is a bleeping juggernaut.
Oh yeah,
that may be the best division we've ever seen.
Yeah. Well, and we said that last year of the NFC West, right? We were like, okay, all 4 teams could potentially make the playoffs. Well, now with the extension of the playoffs, that I believe the AFC West is a no-brainer for everybody making the playoffs.
It's not a no-brainer because they play 30-some-odd% of the games against each other. But
true. But the AFC, I mean, Seth, Russell Wilson comes over. Matt Ryan comes over. Devontae.
Oh, to the AFC, not to the AFC.
To the AFC, right? Devontae Adams comes over. I mean, it's a legit. I mean, and all traded for Carson Wentz, which is not much of a trade at all. And then you look at it and you're like, wow, that is a change in personnel. It is certainly. Oh, Brandon Scherf also came over. Sorry, forgot about that.
Who?
Brandon Scherf, the offensive guard from the commies. Yeah, the best offensive.
You're going to call them the commies forever, aren't you?
Look, you made a stupid name choice called the Commanders. You
Finish the
deserve
most
to be called
of
the
all the places to do it.
right,
Washington, D.C.
right.
Should have stuck with the Washington, D.C. football team.
By the way, so switching gears a little bit, did you see what that 980 today? So 980 in DC, who used to be the voice of the commies, because I'm about to say the Redskins, but the commies, is now no longer the voice of the commies. And they actually said, now our shackles are taken off. Now, because they were bought by a different firm, so they're no longer owned by Dan Snyder. And so now Sports Radio 980 is no longer the home of the commies, no longer owned by Dan Snyder, and they are the only sports radio station in Washington. Oh, this is going to be fun. Like, I may just need satellite radio just to listen to them during the football season. The Rams improved, right? Allen Robinson, one of your favorite guys, Allen Robinson moving over to the Rams. Well, and Robert Woods, one of my favorite guys, moving over to the Titans.
Because Robert Woods is coming off an ACL, a torn ACL.
Right.
And you have a number 2 wideout in Allen Robinson. I don't get why they're trying to sign Beckham at this point. You have Van Jefferson. You have other needs.
If I'm Odell Beckham,
I'm surprised.
If I'm Odell Beckham, I make a beeline to Green Bay. And I say, hey, I could start for 9 games for you guys with Aaron Rodgers, where my number 1 wide receiver is Alan Lazard. Yeah, that'll work well. I mean, thank God for Aaron Jones, because that team has nobody that can catch the ball. And
you mean Sterling Sharp? Sterling Sharp's not walking through that door?
Nor is Sterling Shepard. Neither one of them is walking through
but Sterling Sharp was a Packer.
He was.
No Robert Brooks. No Don Hudson. They could use Don Hudson.
Yeah, no Don
I'm not sure what Don Hudson would do with some of the defensive backs right now.
Well, if you ask Don Hudson how many Don Hudson's dead. But if you ask Sterling Sharp how many catches he would have in today's NFL, he'd probably say about 45. And somebody would ask him why, and he'd recite the same thing that Ty Cobb did. Well, I'm 52 years old, so I'm only going to be able to have that many catches. But
he's never short of confidence.
No, well, the NFC has taken a hit, and look, the NFC East. I mean, it's still the Cowboys, right? I mean, it's the Cowboys until it's not the Cowboys.
They're the Cowboys, but they're not really.
Well, they lost Cedric Wilson, right? They lost Amari Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
They still
Lyle
have
Collins.
Lyle Collins. They still have another player that went to the AFC, by the way.
Yeah, since he decided, yes, we need to protect Joe Burrow. What a novel concept.
At least protect him while he's on his rookie contract. After that, no big deal. We can cut him after a year or two. But
I'm sure that's exactly what the Bengals want to do.
But at least during his rookie contract. So anyway, it just looks like the AFC got better and better, and the NFC just gave away players.
This kind of reminds me of like the East and West in the NBA where the East was just a debacle for 15 years.
And now it's the other way, right? It goes both ways.
It's cyclical.
Yeah, it's definitely cyclical. So, okay, let's move on to the NCAA tournament a little bit. For the guy that didn't watch very much, but does know that St. Mary's? No, not St. Mary's.
Seriously,
St. Peter's.
Happened to you?
St. Peter's is in the Sweet 16. St. Peter's, who did not have a 3-star player, who does not have a 3-star player on their team, wins 2 games, first of all, against Kentucky. Is that the one that you texted me and said, is this the biggest upset ever?
Yeah.
I didn't know. I got it the next morning.
Because you were sleeping.
Well, yeah, it's been a long week, a long couple.
It was a Friday night.
Wait. Does Virginia losing not be a bigger upset?
I don't know. I don't know. St. Peter's has 2,300 people in their school. I don't know.
To be fair, I am wearing the Richmond Spiders shirt, which I did not realize we were going to talk about 2 versus 15 or 1 versus 16.
Good times, good memory. I'm sure Billy Owens would be ecstatic if he was watching the show, and he probably should be, to bring up that memory. For those of you who don't know the reference, the Richmond Spiders were the first 15 seed to beat a 2. They happened to beat the Orange of Cuse.
When they were the Orange Men at the time.
Yes, they were the Orange Men at that point.
And that team was stacked. That team was stacked. But, yep.
And interesting, their Richmond's coach was my father's track coach at Passaic High School, Dick Tarrant.
I did not know that.
There you go.
Huh. Maybe you need a University of Richmond shirt.
I would wear one. They've never beaten Maryland in the tournament.
Okay, so we have 16 teams. I got to tell you, one of my final teams is out, and that's Auburn.
So was mine, and it was Auburn. Wait, you actually did a pool?
I did a pool. I'm going to tell you who I have left.
Usually you send it over to me. I have really not been impressed with you.
Thanks. All right, so my pool remaining teams, as I look them up, it's called Sean's Sensational Bracket. The Sensational Bracket is 80th out of 106 with only 27 picks correct. This is a sensational bracket. So I have Gonzaga still in. I had Memphis going to the final Elite Eight. Obviously not happening.
You didn't see that game either.
No. So the point that I had is I went for potential. And Memphis has the most potential.
Is it like your dating life?
No, because I have no potential in that.
Fair.
So I had Memphis versus Duke in the Elite Eight. I still got one. I had UCLA versus Virginia Tech in one. I still have UCLA. Come on. Okay. Then I had Arizona versus Michigan. I got both of those. And I had Kansas versus Auburn. My final.
Did you take Michigan to make your boss feel better?
No, he has no idea. So my final four was Duke, UCLA, Arizona, and Auburn, which actually doesn't look that bad. That I had 3 out of the 4 still. Unfortunately, I had Auburn winning it all, and that looks bad.
Well, I can one up you for bad. My final.
Kentucky in the final game?
No, I Kentucky. Where did I have? I think I had Kentucky out in the 16. Where did I have Kentucky out? Hold on. Let's see here. No, I had them in. I had them out in 16 to Purdue.
Okay.
So I have Gonzaga, Arkansas, and Texas Tech, Duke. So I got those. That's not really going out on any limb. So I'm not really impressed with myself on that.
You're not taking a Memphis. I understand.
I have Arizona. I had Arizona, Houston.
Okay.
I had Villanova, Tennessee. Again, not really going out on much of a limb.
Nope.
I have UCLA, Purdue. I have UCLA in the Final Four also. And my really awesome region, I had Iowa, Auburn in the Final 8. And I had Auburn going through.
So to be fair, I didn't pick that badly.
No, you picked horrendously, but that's okay. Memphis to the final. Look, Memphis played brilliantly. It's a shame you didn't see the game. Memphis played absolutely fantastic.
Okay.
But there have been some really fun games in this tournament.
And I did watch Duke Michigan State.
Michigan State was good.
It was good for the first half. Look, I've said this before with regards to better programs. The better programs are the ones that win the second half of games. It doesn't matter whether it's basketball, football, hockey, or whatnot. It's the first half, I believe.
There is no second half in hockey.
Okay. A second half of games. I didn't say the second half. Second half of games. I truly believe that most NCAA teams, whether you are St. Peter's, St. Mary's, or any other team, can probably keep up for the first half with other teams because scholarship players are scholarship players. And look, you may have the best player in the world, but when it comes to the second half, that's when depth comes into play, right? So the second half of a football game, when you're rotating University of Alabama defensive linemen who are all 5 stars but have just been sitting on the bench against Syracuse's 2 stars or Maryland's 2 stars, that's where the game is won and lost. It's not won in the first half. It's won in the second. And Michigan State got destroyed in the second half by Duke.
They were winning by a point with a minute and a half to go.
They did not play like they were winning. They were not playing.
A very good team. They're not a very good team.
Okay.
But they stayed in the game and they took the lead. And then what happened to them was exactly, ironically, what happened to them when they played Maryland in the Big Ten tournament. Duke pressed. They couldn't handle the press. Right. They turned the ball over like 4 times, and that was the game.
Right.
So I will say, though, what Sweet 16 upsets? I actually, one that you said that I kind of rolled my eyes on. I have them go. I do have them going. I do think Michigan's going to beat Villanova. I think it's a terrible matchup for Villanova. The rest of these are fun games. And I don't know. Hopefully, you'll stay up for at least the 7 o'clock games.
Oh no, I'll be awake for this week's games. I will. I will be able to talk intelligently next week about this week's games. I promise.
What's the bar?
Watching the game. It's the bar. So all right. So you finally have. So Maryland finally has a coach, a legitimate coach. That's name is not Miller. So, first, the Millers both got new jobs, which was surprising to me that Sean Miller got another job. Like, that's first.
Why was it surprising to you?
Maybe because the punishment hasn't been handed down yet. So you'd wait for that to happen and then see if there's
a show. They'll be suspended for 6 games, 8 games, 10 games. They signed them for 5 years.
And they just don't care.
They don't care. Travis Steele didn't win games at Xavier. Sean Miller did. Sean Miller got him to Final 8s.
Yeah, fair. All right. And you have a Willard.
I have a Willard.
The son of a Willard.
Also the grandson, most likely, of a Willard.
Yeah, but I'm saying that is the son of Ralph Willard, right?
It is.
The old Providence.
Who was the head coach at Seton Hall. This is the most unsurprising move of the offseason. This is the problem with Turgeon leaving in December. Because literally for 4 months, this is all the Maryland basketball boards talked about. Was it going to be Andy Enfield? Was it going to be Kevin Willard? Was it going to be – we had heard recently Mike Bray, which, although I like Mike Bray as a coach, would have been horrifying at this point to hire a 63-year-old as our head coach. We should have hired him we should have hired him 10 years ago when Turgeon took over. He was my choice. Although I did like the Turgeon, to be fair, I did like the Turgeon.
And I'm not sure he would have left Notre Dame.
This was the dream.
Even today, I'm not sure he would have left.
Oh, he would have left Notre Dame in a millisecond.
Why?
Today.
Why?
He's from Maryland. His girlfriend works at Under Armour. He wants to live in Maryland. And he's been at Notre Dame for 17 years and has plateaued.
Okay, fair enough.
Although they played probably the best game of the tournament. I don't think you didn't. The Rutgers game was fantastic. That was the first 4 game. The Rutgers Notre Dame game was absolutely fantastic to watch.
So, are you now a fan of the first 4? Because you have totally been against the first 4.
No, I think it's asinine. But
if you're going to play it, have some good games.
Yeah. Look, if you're going to have it, Nabate and I don't agree on much. Okay, we really don't agree on it.
I was about to say, this may be the first thing you agree on.
But he made this comment. I made this comment a year ago. And I hold true to it. If you are going to have this thing, then all of the playing games should be at large play. They should not be conference teams, conference tournament winners. They should be at large teams. A, it makes the games more interesting. And B, the other teams deserve the right to be to not have to play into a tournament they automatically qualified for.
Right.
Although, ironically, I heard to the contrary that actually some of the teams like it because A, it's a game they can win. B, they're getting the audience all to themselves. But I mean, that's my feeling. No, I think the first four is ridiculous. It makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah. Look, if they're going to have exciting games, right? So you totally are down with the exciting games that have happened so far.
I'm down with any game that's exciting.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, so since the last time that we talked, Brittany Griner is still in custody and will be in custody, I believe, until May 19th.
Yeah, they extended it by 2 months.
Would this be happening if it was anybody but Brittany Griner? As in, like, a male athlete?
You mean a black lesbian?
No, I mean a male athlete. Any male athlete.
No, it wouldn't have happened. No chance. She's a female athlete. She's the best in the world at what she does. She's black and she's a lesbian. And she's American. And she's American.
And she's American.
Of course.
I mean, it's sad, I guess. Like, I know we're talking lots and lots of sad things happening today.
And I mean, well, at least she met with the U.S. officials and is apparently doing okay, which is good. But
it sounds like a Red Cross mission more than it is anything else.
It's
not good.
It's
not good. It's not good. It's just not good. Okay. NBA. I got to tell you, I am excited for the NBA playoffs. I don't know why I'm excited. The Knicks aren't going to be in it. You are not excited at all, are you?
I'm a New Jersey Nets fan. The Nets are not in New Jersey.
Correct.
I will root for them.
Correct.
And it will be interesting to see how this plays out because I don't think Eric Adams is lifting the vaccine mandate. And he shouldn't. Whether he lifts it or not is moot. He shouldn't lift it for the NBA or for baseball. You either lift it or you don't.
Oh, yeah. There shouldn't
You don't make exceptions for Kyrie or for Aaron Judge or whoever on the Mets. I don't know or care. If you're going to keep it for now, you keep it for now for everybody. And that's it. If you want to lift it, then lift it. I'm not going to make a call whether you should or shouldn't. I have my feelings on it, but yeah.
Do they have a shot without Kyrie?
No.
Playing half the games?
No. I mean, a shot for what? A shot to beat Philly, maybe, if they get to 6? Yeah, maybe. Can they beat Milwaukee? No.
Well, and without Ben Simmons now too, right? Because right now Ben Simmons hasn't played, and he says he has a herniated disc and has gotten some epidurals from a guy that has had a herniated disc and has received epidurals. That's not an unpainful injury for a 25-year-old guy. That's 6'10" and plays NBA basketball.
Well, to be fair, he hasn't played NBA basketball in 12 months.
And the other thing is he actually has more he has access to a lot more medical capabilities than you or I do.
Look, I mean, I don't think they can win. But again, the Nets made a game 7 without Kyrie.
With James Harden on one leg.
Harden was nothing for the most part.
But they did have Joe Harris, which they don't have for the rest.
But they have Curry. They have Seth Curry. So,
sure.
And Joe Harris has not been a great playoff player. It would be the greatest accomplishment of Kevin Durant's career if he could get them to the finals.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking up at this. I'm looking up at the standings. Are you more surprised that the Heat are in first place? Golden State's in. This is conference standings. The Heat are in first place. The Cavaliers have dropped down to 6. The Celtics are in 4th, or Memphis is in 2nd.
What am I most surprised on? That the Grizzlies are in 2nd.
Or the Timberwolves are in 7th.
Timberwolves have been playing well.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to surpass Denver because it doesn't look like Jamal Murray's coming back. And then you may be looking at a Denver
well, you got the play-in game, so the play-in tournament, so you're not exactly sure who's in that just yet. Right now, the play-in tournament would be Minnesota. Well, you're saying that they're going to pass Denver, in your opinion. So it would be Denver, the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Pelicans.
Before the year, that was 4 playoff teams.
Before the year, look, if Zion comes back for that series, that's
Zion comes back, please.
You saw what he did today, right? You saw
I saw that he dunked. I don't know what else he did.
Oh, he dunked through his legs. I mean, he got some major hops.
If he was that healthy, then he probably should have not been out the entire season.
I agree with that as well. Or rehabbing in Portland as opposed to New Orleans. But the Sun,
and then on the east, you have Toronto, the Nets, the Hornets, and the Hawks, and that's pretty much what it is. Well, the Nets and Raptors can still pass Cleveland and Chicago for that matter.
Look, Cleveland, since the loss of Jared Allen, I do understand. I have not watched a whole lot of basketball.
What have you watched? You didn't watch the tournament. You're not watching the NBA.
No.
Football's done.
Yeah.
You're watching the Islanders stink.
I've been watching some of the Islanders when I have a shot.
But they do stink, right?
They're not great. They're
Are
not
they making the playoffs.
They're not making the playoffs.
Then this year they stink.
Okay, let's say they stink. Right now, the Islanders, excuse me, are a long way out.
Is that your official definition? They're a long way out?
17 points out of a playoff spot, and they have 4 games in hand. So
wow,
yeah. Well,
what happened to them this year?
They went on a 13-game road trip to start the season. That's no bueno. Secondly, so 13-game. Then they got struck with COVID before everybody else did. So the NHL decided not to deal with that until the NHL really got struck with COVID. So they were basically playing an AHL roster for a couple of weeks.
And yet they're 12 points ahead of the Devils.
Yeah, they're 12 points ahead. And look, they're 16, 12, and 4 at home. Remember, they played their first 13 games on the road. So, I mean, they played their first 13 games on the road, and they're just at 500 on the road. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10. It was too big of a hill to climb and too late to climb it. So they didn't make any changes at the deadline. They actually re-signed Cal Clutterbuck and Zach Parise for another Clutterbuck for 2, Parise for 1. But you look at some of the teams that did make trades at the deadline, and I know you're not a hockey guy.
I know the big one was Claude Giroux.
Yeah, Claude Giroux going to the Florida Panthers. Look, the Panthers are in first place with 90 points, tied with the Hurricanes, and they are. I mean, look, 254 goals. I mean, their goal differential is 74. The next in the East, the next is 56. They have 28 more goals than the second team, which is Toronto. I mean,
with everything going on, this is what we're talking about.
Dude, I'm the one driving the conversation. What would you like to talk about? Let's roll through.
Go ahead. I'm getting a kick out of this.
No.
This is as much NHL as I think we've ever spoken, or in the last 5 years. So
let's roll into baseball, which I know is another thing you really don't want to talk about.
Well, no, actually, I think what's going on is hysterical. And if what has happened in the last couple of weeks hasn't constituted why Brian Cashman should not be the GM for the Yankees anymore, I don't know what does.
Okay, so please explain to me why you believe that it's hysterical.
You are the expert. You are the salary cap guru.
And I love dealing with the caps. Yep. Okay.
So explain to me.
Yes.
Yankees trade Gary Sanchez.
Yes.
And
Gio Urshela.
Who's a nice player, nothing special.
Sure.
For Josh Donaldson.
Yes.
who's one of the most hated players in the league. And Isaiah, I have no idea what his
a very good defensive shortstop.
He's
And
the
a very
American League's in Drendel Simmons for the most part.
and a very good defensive catcher.
He's not a catcher.
No, a shortstop.
Oh,
and
the
a
other guy
catcher.
that okay.
They got a very good defensive catcher and a very good defensive shortstop.
Okay. So which is fine if the idea is that, okay, we're waiting for Anthony Volpe to develop.
That's the goal.
I understand. However, I was under the impression that people like Trevor Story was going to go for $250 million. Carlos Correa was going to go for $300 million. You are literally signing Donaldson and Isaiah, whoever, for more than Trevor Story on an AAV. And you've always said, and I agree, that for 1 year you can sign anybody.
Correct.
And Carlos Correa, for all intents and purposes, signed 3 one-year contracts, which he's never going to use unless he gets injured.
So correct. So let's break that down. So Donaldson signs for $23 million, comes over for $23 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kiner Falefa is the guy that you were talking about, is $4.7 million. So combine the two, $27 million. The catcher, I think he's an arbitration guy, but isn't going to earn very much. So let's say $29 million. Then you have Correa at 35, right? But you don't get when you do that, you still have Gary Sanchez and Urshela on the books.
What is Urshela? Sanchez's contract's about 6, I think.
I believe that would be correct. Let's bring it up. Urshela, hold on 1 second, please. I love Spotrac. Okay, so Urshela is 6.5 and Gary Sanchez is 7.5. So that's $13 million. So You're adding another $20 million. If you don't make that trade, you add Correa, and then you still have to get yourself a catcher because Sanchez can't catch. We've established this.
You are the freaking New York Yankees.
I get it, but have they been operating like the New York Yankees?
They're not the New York Yankees anymore.
Correct. Steve Cohen is the New York Yankees.
Yes.
And they are the Fred Wilpon New York Mets. So
Correa for one. So
hold on, but is that Cashman's fault? You just said why he should not be the GM of the Yankees. Is that Cashman's fault, or is it?
We don't know. If you are the Yankees, are you making this trade for Donaldson and Fuller? What are you making this trade for?
So right now, the Yankees have a $262 million payroll plus tax bill. 260. So they have a $256 million salary, right? You add another $20 million because that's what you would do for Correa and for a catcher, right? Because minus plus everything that goes along with it. And you're at 282 before you get to arbitrations, which means 282 before you get to Aaron Judge.
They're going to let Aaron Judge go.
Okay.
After this year.
So
you're not going to be able to agree on a contract.
But my point is you had $282 million, right? 282. And that's before you get to Joey Gallo, who you're going to have to re-sign next year.
Why?
Okay. So you now let go of your left fielder and your right fielder, starters.
Gallo hit 200 last year? 180?
I understand. Gallo is the modern day Adam Dunn. I love that can play defender. That can play a much better defense than the donkey. But that was his nickname.
His nickname was the donkey?
The big donkey. Yep.
That's a great nickname.
I loved it. I had him on every fantasy league team because we did OBP as opposed to batting average. Oh, he had a 380 OBP. But anyway, so you're at 282, which means you're in another tax bracket. So you're not at really 282. You're really at almost 300 at that point. So if when have the Yankees, since Hal Steinbrenner has taken over, been a tax team to that degree? They haven't. This is not Brian Cashman, Seth. This isn't. This is Hal Steinbrenner. If you want to make the case that the Joey Gallo trade was a bad trade, if you want to make the case that the Josh Donaldson trade was a bad baseball trade, I can listen to it. I don't agree with it. I think it was actually a very good baseball trade.
You think the Gallo trade was a good trade?
I think the Gallo trade was necessary. You needed a defensive player, and you didn't have Aaron Hicks. Remember, Aaron Hicks was out all last year.
And he signed to a $10 million contract a year, which is going, I get it.
Correct. If you want to tell me that Anthony Rizzo is not worth $16 million, I can listen to you. Like all these guys, if you want to say that they are not worth the money that is spent, I can listen to that. But I can't listen to, hey, we're the New York Yankees. We have Garrett Cole at 36, Giancarlo Stanton at 29, which is $65 million wrapped up in two players. One player who can't play the outfield or can't play it well. And one guy that's only playing every 5 games, right? That's what pitchers do. That's not a knock on Garrett Cole. And Garrett Cole's taking up 15% of the payroll. Giancarlo Stanton's taking up 12% of the payroll. You want to make a case that they shouldn't be paid that much, I'm with you 100%.
Well, that's a given. But again, the Stanton deal, remember, is Florida still paying for some of Stanton's contract?
Yeah, that's why it's at 29 and not 35. I mean, and he's not opting out of that deal.
No, because he won't get anywhere near that.
Nobody in their right mind would do that.
It is amazing to me, though, that you literally have a team that they could be 4th in the AL East.
Here's the thing that's amazing to me about the Yankees. I'm going to go through their play. I'm going to go through their players, and I'm going to go through their ages of their players. Maybe the top 10 players. Garrett Cole is 31. Giancarlo Stanton is 32. Donaldson is 36. Chapman is 34. Aaron Judge will be 31. Anthony Rizzo is 32. LeMahieu is 33. So that is the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys on their payroll. Not one of them is under 31 years old. Then you get to Luis Severino at 28, Hicks at 32, and then Gallo at 28, and that's your top 10. So you have 2 guys in your top 10 that are probably on the ascension of their careers. And everybody.
Severino is coming off, 2 years of injuries?
Right. I said maybe. Right. And maybe Garrett Cole's still on the ascension. Maybe. But
I don't think he's on the ascension. I mean, he's been a Cy Young winner. I'm not sure how much better he's going to get.
Okay. But he's 31, right? So, but that's the point, right? So
they're an old team.
That doesn't have it.
They're an old, overpaid team with the ability to make the playoffs. But I don't see them being better than Boston or being better than Tampa.
They have a very, very high floor. They do. But they have a very, very low ceiling. Like, if that's even possible to have a ceiling and a floor like this, close together.
It's an 85 to 95 win team. That's your ceiling.
With absolutely no ascension in the playoffs.
No.
Because right now, your top 3 pitchers in the playoffs are Garrett Cole, Severino, who we don't know what we're getting, Jordan Montgomery, and Jamison Towne. Those are your top 4 pitchers, and you don't know beyond Cole what you're getting on any given day from any of those guys. All right. So we got 5 minutes left. Would you like to start off, or I am happy?
I will let you have the pleasure.
All right. Well, I know we keep talking about guys that die. It sucks, but we do. I mean, and this week, look, when I remember the first announcer that passed away that got me, and that was Harry Carey. And that happened when I think I was 22. And then you had Bob Murphy, who was the Mets announcer, and he passed away. And every once in a while, you get the Pedro Gomez, right, from last year that passed away. And this year, a guy that was released from ESPN a couple of years back and kind of faded
Yeah.
And then the professor, right? John Clayton passes away this week. I believe at 67 or 69. It was one of those.
I don't think he was that old, but yeah.
John Clayton was the Will McDonough to me of football. He was the guy that you had to listen to because he had the scoop, right? He was the scoop. And if you want to read a really good tribute to him on The Athletic, Mike Sando wrote an amazing article about him. And I think it's a matter of, look, we talk every week about this player that we grew up passing away and this player that we grew up passing away. And those are players and those are guys that you kind of look up to because they're athletes. But as a journalist, a former journalist, and still a guy that obviously does this podcast almost every week. I said almost every week. He was a guy that I looked at and said, that's the type of reporter I want to be. That's the type of guy that I want to be relied on by people. And a lot of younger fans know him from his ESPN commercial, which is still
great,
amazing. And if you need to look it up, look up John Clayton ESPN. There's only one. I guarantee you there is only one. And the beauty of John Clayton in the ESPN commercial is that John Clayton was so serious that for him to do the
Mom, I'm done with my segment.
Did you know that he was supposed to wear a Megadeth t-shirt?
I heard, yeah.
And he wore a Slayer t-shirt instead. And look, we're all better off for reading and listening to John Clayton. And it's unfortunate that after he lost his job at ESPN, he kind of went off into obscurity for nationally. Maybe in Seattle he was well known, but certainly nationally.
Yeah, and that kind of leads to where I'm going. ESPN has had so many cuts over the last couple of years. Clayton is one. We've seen a bunch of others. And they spent $165 million to bring in Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. And it brings up the obvious question. For the love of God, why? Are they going to bring in more watchers?
No, they may actually lose watchers because people don't like Joe Buck.
They're not going to first of all, you have the Mannings already on ESPN too.
Yep.
You have cut so many good people over the last few years. And you're spending $165 million on Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. Neither of which I'm a huge fan of. But neither here nor there. We talk about the players' salaries and we complain. We talk about the coaches' salaries and we kind of roll our eyes. But at least the game is contingent on that. I can't even come heads or tails about who would pay Troy Aikman $18 million a year. I don't get it. I am watching the Giants, or I'm watching Sunday Night Football, or I'm watching Monday Night Football, or whatever it is. I don't care who the announcers are.
Is that true, though? Is that true?
At no point have I ever said, I am not watching this game because this guy's announcing it.
Because Dennis Miller's on it?
Didn't mind.
Okay.
Didn't love him. I was offended when Limbaugh was on.
Right.
That was offensive to me. But that was different. Because that wasn't because of his football acumen. That was because he was,
a jackass.
A racist. And, or as the Southern say, bless your heart for saying that. But as you know, you're a Southern guy now.
That too.
But
you all come back now, you hear?
Exactly. I would much rather you have these guys, ESPN keep Tom Rinaldi, who went to Fox, or whoever it is. The guys who do real investigative reporting, try and keep Mark Schwartz for another year or two. I am going to think every time I watch Troy Aikman, he's being paid $1 million to announce this game.
Yep.
And my enjoyment of the game would not be changed one iota if he wasn't him. ESPN, where the hell is your head at?
All right. That was Seth Kamens. I'm Sean Palmer, Seth and Sean Sports, and we will be back next week.
Are you sure?
I am 100% sure we will be back next week. Have a great week, everybody. Watch some basketball. I intend to do the same.
Good job.
See? Adios, amigos.
Are we doing our baseball preview next week, or is that in 2 weeks?
We can do it next week if you're around for it. Do you want to do it, or you want to? We're still on, by the way. Do you want to do it with me, or are you anti-baseball? All right,
I'd rather do it next week than the week after. So
baseball preview next week. You heard it from Seth's voice.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited.
See you guys.